If you are desperately trying to figure out how to rank higher in Etsy search or even how to show up in Etsy search at all, and you'd simply like to learn how to do Etsy SEO faster so you can add significantly more products and grow your Etsy shop as fast as possible without obsessing over your Etsy search analytics. However, today's video isn't just going to be Etsy SEO for beginners. I'm going to explain why I actually do the complete opposite of what everyone seems to recommend to rank higher in Etsy search, and I'm going to break it down step by step with examples. This is a complete Etsy SEO tutorial with tips on Etsy listing tags, titles, descriptions, and even how to circumvent the Etsy algorithm altogether. At this point in my Etsy shop, unless I'm feeling super creative, I've probably done Etsy keyword research before I've even designed the item. Because if I create a new listing in Etsy and no one is even searching for the product or the keywords related to it, or if there's simply way too much competition, I'm sorry to say it's going to be super tough to even get the item to sell once, never mind consistently. So let's dive right into all of the details so we can get to the fun stuff. To make sure that my Etsy listings rank high on Etsy search, I start with my tags. While most people seem to suggest starting with the Etsy listing title, I prefer to start with my Etsy listing tags. If I can figure out what the best keyword combinations are for my Etsy listing tags, then I can simply rearrange those for my Etsy listing title. So if I create my tags first and my titles afterwards, this saves me so much time. The tags of your Etsy listing are simply words, sometimes called keywords, or these can be combinations of words to help you describe the item or who the item is ideally for. Ideally, you want to have some Etsy listing tags that have a lot of monthly searches, and you want to think of your Etsy listing tags like building a pyramid or the foundation of a house. You want to have a super strong foundation with broad and generic search terms, and then you want to layer on more specific search terms so customers searching for exactly your item can find what they're looking for. So you don't want to specialize in only broad or specific keywords because there might not be enough potential customers to help you get a bestseller if you only use very specific keywords. And you don't just want to use broad search words like, say, birthday gift, because there's way too many competing listings for your listing to have the opportunity to stand out. If you don't try to build a pyramid or strong foundation using both types of broad and specific terms, then the house will never be strong enough and it will implode. So you want to have tags that have a lot of monthly searches, and then you want to have tags that are very specific that hardly anyone is searching for, that perfectly describe the item so customers searching for it have a hope of finding it. Essentially, you want to have combinations of keywords that customers are searching for, but not yet so much that there's too much competition from other Etsy sellers. So let's take a look at this Etsy listing that says Happy Halloween with a blue cat on a broomstick. And first, let's just examine the Etsy listing tags. Some of the tags that the seller is using have significant search volume, like Halloween has 5,700 monthly searches, Halloween shirt has over 5,000 monthly searches, Halloween gift has 4,700 monthly searches, but there's so much competition with over 5 million competing listings for Halloween by itself, over 1 million competing listings for Halloween shirt. It's going to be very difficult to show up for some of these tags as a newer seller. It's pretty unlikely that this item will be seen at all with the current listing tags. Also, some of these tags are quite repetitive, like Halloween, Halloween shirt, Halloween gift. Now, Halloween cat would be the most specific if we still want to include the word Halloween multiple times, as Halloween cat does have quite a few monthly searches, but it still has a lot of competition. But what I think is missing is that if I really think about who this shirt is ultimately for, I'd say it's for a cat lover, a cat mom, a woman or a female, or maybe a crazy cat lady. I think that's trademarked though. Crazy cat lady Halloween shirt. If this listing was in a niche that I wasn't familiar with selling in as a seller, for example, maybe it's my first Halloween listing or my first listing with cats, then I would spend some time going through and searching each individual keyword combination to see how many searches it has and how much competition there is. But honestly, that's going to take a ton of time, and I promised you Etsy SEO faster. So in this case, if I was in a hurry, I would use longer keyword combinations than the seller is using, and then try to make the keywords more relevant to the type of person who might want the item, as opposed to just thinking about what the item is. This listing has been on Etsy for 32 months. If we were to examine the success of only the Etsy listing tags and not take into account any of the other factors happening in this listing, we can see that given the amount of competition of these keywords, these listing tags aren't helping our listing get in front of many customers. When I was brand new to Etsy, I needed examples of Etsy search terms, and there are a couple different ways you can easily do this for free. You can use the Etsy search bar and simply type in generic keywords at the top of Etsy search. Then you can start to add in a couple letters and see what prompts Etsy gives you. Of course, it can be a bit slow, and you can't really tell how accurate it is at helping you sell anything. Or you can do what I also did when I was starting out, and that was to use the free version of erank.com to see other examples of Etsy listing tags and what other shops were doing and which ones had actually sold. I would look at several different listings in eRank and see which keyword combinations might make sense for me to use in my listings, because I literally had no idea which tags to use. I needed examples. Now I kind of have a mental bank of keywords that are very commonly used that I use frequently in some combinations, like gift, gifts, sweatshirt, shirt, for her, for him, mom, and lover, like as in cat lover. Nowadays, I prefer to use the paid Chrome extension of EVERBEE, which means that I don't have to log in anywhere and search individual listings. I can quickly and effortlessly see why a listing of mine might be doing well, and even which keywords might no longer be helping or relevant to the particular listing. I've even started changing some of the keywords and the tags of my listings. So if you want to get your Etsy SEO done faster, you can effortlessly copy listing tags from previous listings and add those to new listings, and then look over your previous listings so you can try to figure out which Etsy listing tags are working and why. As a general rule, I try to avoid one-word listing tags and tend to prioritize 2 to 3 word listing tags. If we then look at the listing tags in this listing, retro sunset rays wavy shirts, we can see how the seller prioritizes using a variety of relevant keywords with both high and low search volume. If we click on Analyze the Listing in EVERBEE, we can see that nearly every listing tag has monthly searches and not too much competition, so there also is a pretty good keyword score for nearly every listing tag. And the Etsy listing tag with the highest score is retro sunset rays with a keyword score of 130, because there's only 678 competing listings and there's still a search volume of 90 people searching per month. And if you remembered correctly, the very first few keywords of the Etsy listing title are retro sunset rays. So do keep that in mind as we get into Etsy listing titles. So to help us rank higher in Etsy search and be found for relevant keywords that customers might be searching for, not only do our listing tags need to be cohesive and make sense for our customers, but we also need to optimize our Etsy listing title to help us show up in search. But you probably didn't know this, but you've done the hardest part. If you want faster Etsy SEO to be able to create new listings faster, this is how you do it. You've already spent some time coming up with your Etsy listing tags, and now you can likely reuse those same keywords again and again, so your hard work definitely won't go to waste. Now you simply want to rearrange those Etsy listing tags tags to create your Etsy listing title. However, the first 3 to 5 words of the Etsy listing title are the most important, not just to Etsy, but to search engines in general. And this will help tell Etsy what the item actually is. Do keep in mind that the first 3 to 5 words of your Etsy listing title do become part of the link in the internet web browser for this specific listing. So at the beginning of the Etsy listing title, you want to pick which words are the absolute most important that you want to rank for, or that you think this listing should be able to rank for easily, and simply prioritize and put those words at the beginning of the listing title. These are the keywords you want this listing to dominate for, because yours is the most specific and the best listing out of all the listings out there with similar keywords. I tend to put the most generic search words at the end of my listing title, and while Etsy gives us 140 characters to use, I do tend to use at least 100 characters of the listing title. Just 4 to 5 words in the title likely isn't enough unless you have ads running on another platform or you have a significant social media following. Now, while we can optimize our listings for search engines and for the Etsy algorithm, definitely keep in mind that Etsy SEO takes experimentation. The listings that I've had become the most successful are listings that I made copies of, and I experimented using different titles and different tags to see the results. If one listing takes off, then I might eliminate the other listings, or I might find that the other listings are helping to push the one successful listing in front of more customers in some weird mystical way. Okay, probably not mystical, but because Etsy doesn't always allow multiple listings from the same shop to appear on the same web page in Etsy search. So if I want to have one listing appear on page 1 of Etsy search, then I might need to have another listing with the same search words to appear on page 2 and another on page 3 and so on. This isn't always the case. There are always items that you'll see on Etsy that completely break the rules, but this is what's worked for me. Now, you might have noticed when scrolling through Etsy that the most important way to get your items seen by customers in Etsy is to have had your item already sell on Etsy. And of course, the more the item sells on Etsy, then the more likely it is for the item to be seen in Etsy search for broad and generic keywords, not just the little specific ones. So you really have to do anything you can to get the item to sell. But Etsy search, like other search engines, also likes other ranking factors, like social media shares, how many backlinks you have to the listing. Is the item getting seen in Google Image? Is it bringing potential customers to Etsy? So to solve this problem in a very quick and effortless way, I use the Pinterest Chrome extension and simply pin my items on Pinterest. I don't create fancy pins. I don't use Pinterest analytics or marketing. I just pin the photo to Pinterest. Not only does this help Etsy get more customers to the platform, but it definitely also helps my shop get additional views and visits. Again, I don't do anything fancy with Pinterest ads or Pinterest analytics. I just pin my listings on Etsy to help them get more views. As I've already hinted, the ultimate Etsy SEO hack has nothing to do with SEO. Just get the item to sell. We just have to get the item to sell. You can have perfect titles and tags, but if the item doesn't sell, then SEO doesn't matter at all. So there are 4 things that I do to get my items to sell as soon as possible. The first thing I do is run a daily discount of any percent to get Etsy to show the little countdown timer that my discount or sale is ending soon, and likely in a couple of hours. And this discount encourages customers to purchase right away. And if you're concerned that you'll be losing money, then simply ensure that your items are priced high enough to begin with, so you have the opportunity to offer a discount. The second thing I do is to limit the quantity of the item available, at least temporarily. I limit the quantity of the items from 1 to 8. I limit the quantity of the listing so that if customers see that there's a shortage of the item, then they're encouraged to purchase the item before someone else does. The third thing I do is to run Etsy ads so I can see which keywords my item is getting shown for. And I don't run it on all listings, and I do keep my budget quite high, but Etsy rarely spends it. The fourth thing I do is I keep adding additional items. Of course, these newer items have better listing photos, and I eliminate older listings that might be making my shop look more dated as opposed to being trendy and current. I want to have the latest and most popular designs in trending niches. Sometimes I get it right and sometimes I don't. But continuing to add new listings definitely helps my shop to stay competitive and relevant. In fact, now I'm starting to have many returning customers come back and purchase newer and updated versions of phrases where the original design maybe just wasn't as good as I'm able to do now. And now that I remake some designs in a more current style, it becomes popular again. If you are interested in getting EVERBEE and trying it out, there are links to the tools that I use for my Etsy shop down below in the description, so take a look and see if they work for you. As always, I wish you all the very best of luck and success in building your Etsy shop for today, tomorrow, and for well into the future. See you later, superstar.